My diagnosis is bipolar. I'm more on the depressed side. Without the medication, I am kind of in a manic state. People thought it had something to do with me and my personality and my behavior, and I was very criticized.
With Deborah's condition preventing her from holding a job for any length of time, she soon wound up on the street or in homeless shelters.
You just hope you have enough strength to get from one day to the next. I had no responsibility in my life because I didn't have a home and there was no structure. I guess I felt kind of hopeless. I always wanted to get well, and it was just a matter of getting the right treatment.
After finally being diagnosed for her mental illness and completing 6 months of treatment, Deborah's caseworker put her on a list for a Broward Housing Solutions apartment.
When I first moved in, I remember sitting on the floor and just looking around and saying, wow, I did it. It's been great from the very beginning, just having my own place. I feel safe, I feel secure. It's affordable, I'm independent, I don't have to depend on anyone else.
What I've found with my limited experience in dealing with people with mental illness is that one of the primary considerations for them is stability and consistency. If you can empathize with the people that are the clients of Broward Housing Solution, and you can provide them with a place where they can have 2 feet on the ground, it's a gift that you can't even measure.
I have been given hope because at one time I didn't think there was hope.
As a one-time heroin addict and alcoholic, Carlton suspected early on he didn't fit in. Carlton eventually found out the root of his erratic behavior.
They diagnosed me as being bipolar because I would go up and down.
The down times drove him to the point of despair, even though he did his best to hold down a meager job.
I couldn't afford the rent, so they kicked me out, and I stayed underneath the bridge, and I would go and wash myself up at the marina.
As Carlton began to undergo treatment for his mental illness and addictions, his counselors were able to get him into the Broward Housing Solutions program, something for which he is forever grateful.
Broward Housing Solutions is very important for the people that have nowhere to go. It keeps them off the street, and it gives them security. And they know that somebody cares. When you're out there and you're on the street, nobody cares.
His treatment has also enabled him to reestablish an important aspect of his life.
I didn't have no contact with any people in my family for 11 years. Now I call up my mother every day and I tell her I love her.
I think everyone's life has really been touched by mental illness, and the success that they've had over the years is just phenomenal with housing and getting these people off the streets and finding them safe places to live.
I don't care what religion, what race, we all have the same problems.
For Cathelia, life has always been hard. Diagnosed in her teens with major depression, she became involved in an abusive relationship with a boyfriend that she would eventually marry. Cathelia, educated as a licensed nurse, found herself enmeshed in a nightmare existence as a clinically depressed wife married to an abusive alcoholic.
He had dominated me so much so, and I depended on him for finances because during the beatings you can't go to work and you're sore, you have a lot of injuries.
After 25 brutal years of marriage, Cathelia divorced and was eventually evicted from her house by her ex-husband. Living out of her car, her hope and dignity were all but gone. She made her way to a shelter and later managed to rent a small room in a home. Then, after 5 long years on a waiting list for a Broward Housing Solutions residence, she now has a place she can tearfully call her own.
It has helped me to get back to who I always knew I was. You have to break that cycle.
Although Broward Housing Solutions is providing many of those with mental illness with safe and affordable housing, the crisis taking place on our streets continues to worsen. And with limited resources resulting in extensive waiting lists, Broward Housing Solutions is increasingly challenged to reach out to those who need it most.
The mission and the goals of this organization is to be able to buy more housing, to build more apartments, to provide housing for the many people that are in the waiting list. I hope that people really understand that we are really changing lives.
There's a lot of good people out here that are mentally ill, that I met personally. A lot of them I hadn't had a chance, and they need chances.
Chances that Broward Housing Solutions hopes to continue to provide for decades to come to hundreds more who are just grateful to have a place to call home.